we have this quick post I wanted to mention regarding Jorja Smith, right? She's been kind of going viral on my side of Twitter because this particular clip, courtesy of Complex, features Jorja and Neo Archives, and Jorja's doing the remix of Little Things and putting her vocals on it. And legitimately, I'm not going to play the clip for you on the video side of the show. Maybe I'll actually play a little bit of it now.
That's alright. It's the little things that get me high. Won't you come with me and spend the night? Just a little thing for you and I. And if it's meant to be, then that's alright.
So you can see kind of what it sounds like. But essentially, this might be the best thing I've heard from Jorja Smith like in a very long time. I'm somebody that's never really been that much of a fan of hers. I think she's been quite overhyped. I think if there is a definition of pretty privilege, she definitely gets it, because I don't think the music matches the aesthetics. Don't get me wrong, her aesthetics are fucking amazing. She's definitely a gorgeous girl. I can understand why a lot of guys are into her. Maybe some girls also that go Google Gaga over and are flopping obsessed with her, you know, number one person being J Hus and stuff. I get it. And Chunks, or no, he likes the other girl, doesn't he? The other light skin, I forgot her name. Sorry, Maya, right? So I get why people like her and stuff, right? But for me, the music has always been a bit dead, always felt a bit flat to me. She kind of occupies that quasi whispering R&B type of genre, and I just think there are many artists out there that do a better job of that kind of sound or that type of vocal inflections better than her. One off the top of my head, sorry, is Baby Rose. I'm fucking big fan of hers, and I think she does that type of style of R&B music way better than Jorja. Anyway, that being said, Jorja on this type of beat is sensational. I really do hope that she does more of this going forward, of a new album coming out soon, or maybe just gives us something a little bit different from what she's previously given us. Because thinking about it now, actually, Jorja kind of reminds me a little bit of Lana Del Rey. There's this tendency to just stick to what she does. Lana Del Rey doesn't really deviate, or even maybe Adele, really, right? That type of singing that she does, right? That mum's soul, whatever it fucking called. She doesn't really deviate from it in the slightest, and Jorja does the same thing. So maybe she just enjoys that type of music. Regardless, all that to say, the clip is going viral not because of her vocal times, but more because of what Jorja looks like, because she looks very chunky, right? She wasn't as fat previously, but now she's clearly gained a few lbs, and it's been interesting to see on the timeline just how flipping nerfed and how unfun and how unserious social media has got, because it should be okay for us to just say, hey, she looks a bit fat, because we know what she's looked at beforehand, because she's quite visible everywhere, right? She's one of the most popular musicians we have here in the UK. She's globally well known. Some people like her music and are big fans of hers. They post her stuff all the time online, so you see what she looks like. So we can clearly see that the Jorja that we knew pre-2022 is not the same one that we can see now in front of us. Who knows why that she's gotten that big? We don't know. We don't care. It's not a problem. But you should be able to just say she looks chunkier, she looks bigger now. But one thing is for sure, she hasn't, decreased her looks wise. Like, there's probably a queue of boys out now who would probably, take her up on an offer to go on a date or whatnot at a moment's notice. No one's saying that she doesn't look attractive, but I just wish we lived in a world where it was okay to say, hey, she looks a little bit chunky. We don't remember looking that way at one time before in life, and just keep it moving. But for some reason, we have to get into this weird semantics game. We have to kind of play nice and don't want to offend people and pretend like everything is big and beautiful. It's just a nonsense, really, to be fair. And you have to really give Jorja credit, because again, we don't know what's going on and why this has happened. A lot of us, myself included, have put on a few lbs since the pandemic. I think everyone put on a bit of pandemic weight because we're all basically indoors, so that could be the reason why. Who knows? Something else could be going on, or just because she just wants to look this way. We don't really understand. But one thing I have to give the girl credit for, she has never so far, in all the fervor around her weight, what she looks like, especially on social, she hasn't really come out and said nothing, or cried or complained or been the victim. And she hasn't done one thing which I despise for people that are usually people that are newly fat. If you've always been fat your whole life, then do what you need to do. But if you're somebody that just became fat because you decided, you couldn't bother to work out anymore, or you couldn't bother to watch what you eat, or you're just in a whole different way of living, you just want to kind of, let life happen to you wherever it happens to you, I really hate those type of people who then decide to become fat activists, because you're not really a fat activist. You just become making this your entire personality because you're really trying to cope or come to terms with who you are and what you look like now, or just give yourself a personality that you never had before. And I despise that. I've got a few people that I know who do that kind of thing, who make the whole fat thing and body positivity thing their entire personality. There's nothing more nauseating because because there are some people that do it and it's coming from a real place. It's congruent who they are. And some people do it just to fucking grift, which is wild, right? It's wild to have a fucking body positivity grift, but it does exist. So credit to Jorja Smith for not jumping on that and just letting it be what it be. Some people want to talk about her body and shit like I am. Some people don't, and she doesn't give a fucking fuck because, it is what it is. The game is the game. But I just wish we could live in a society where we could just say, hey, she's looking a bit chunky. We could just say it one time, make our 1-2 comments and keep it moving. But it's pretending like we don't see that, she looks a little bit bigger than what we remember her to look like. Again, no one's saying she looked like fucking Kate Moss. She was always a kind of a curvy girl anyway, but still, she's definitely put on some lbs for whatever reason. People should be allowed to say it and not feel like they're being disrespectful or being rude, because it just is what it is. It's an observation. But, the country or the world we live in at the moment, people can be too sensitive. But have to end it with this. Whoever is in her camp needs to tell her to fucking double down, triple down, quadruple down on whatever sound this is that you would describe this fucking, Little Thing song is with fucking Nia Archives. Nia Archives, maybe if it was up to me, I'd tell her, hey, you guys lock in together. Can you put together an EP? Can you put together a whole, produce a fucking album? Can Nia Archives executive produce the entire thing, please? Whatever it may be called, please get that locked in, because I've never heard Jorja Smith sound so good. And again, this is coming from somebody that's not really a fan of her music. She sounds incredible on this track, absolutely incredible. So I want to hear more of that from her, please. More of that from her, please, if that is at all possible. If that is at all possible.